NCTV presents this program in color.
The lacrosse teams had a busy weekend, and so did our correspondents. They'll have the report. Dr. Althea Richardson tells us about Newberry College's efforts to strengthen community. And the football team plays its annual Scarlet and White game. Our cameras were there. All this and more coming up on Wolves Weekly. From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, this is Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica. Well, the semester may be winding down, but there was still plenty of action on the Newberry campus this past weekend. The football team played its spring game, and we'll have more on that for you later on. But later on Saturday, both the women's and men's lacrosse teams played in quarterfinal games against South Atlantic Conference rivals. The women took on UVA-Wise, while the men faced Wingate. It was a pair of hard-fought games. Tucker Moore has this report.
On Saturday, April 26, both the men's and women's lacrosse teams competed at the SAC quarterfinals on Setzler Field. We saw the women take on UVA-Wise at 4 p.m., followed by the men facing off against Wingate University at 7 p.m. In the women's game, UVA-Wise started off hot, scoring 2 goals in the first 2 minutes. Newberry answered that with their own flurry of scores. It started with a score from senior attacker Serena Elias, and was then followed by 3 goals in less than 2 minutes from junior midfielder Lana Howell. Another goal from Serena Elias and freshman Nicole Dinapoli brought their score to a total of 6 for the quarter. UVA-Wise would score once more, bringing their score to 6-3 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, it was back and forth between the two teams. For the Wolves, it saw more action from Serena Elias, Lana Howell, and Nicole Dinapoli as they all scored 1 goal apiece. UVA-Wise outscored the Wolves with 4 goals in the period, but they went to half up by a score of 9-7. In the third quarter, UVA-Wise got off to a quick start, scoring 2 goals in the first minute of the quarter, tying the game at 9-9. The Wolves wasted no time answering them with 2 quick goals from senior midfielder Emma Jobs. After another score from UVA-Wise, a 6-goal run by the Wolves was orchestrated by Scythe Shepard, Dakota Beasley, Keely Sailors, Lana Howell, and Tristan Burns. Another score from UVA-Wise brought the quarter to an end, with Newberry up 16-11. In the final quarter, the Wolves stifled UVA-Wise's attempts to come back, only allowing 2 more goals. For good measure, the Wolves scored 4 more goals, putting UVA-Wise out of reach and ending the game victorious by a score of 20-13. The Wolves advanced to the SAC semifinals with momentum on their side, seeking to continue their postseason run with the same attacking style and defensive grit. With the taste of victory present on Setzler Field, the men's team now look to do the same. Despite this, Wingate asserted themselves in the first quarter, scoring 4 goals and defended well, leaving the Wolves with 0 points. Despite the slow start, the Wolves got it going in the second quarter, with 2 goals from freshman Ace Nichols and 1 goal apiece from Johnny McLean and Gage Vigar. The Wolves were able to close the gap. Despite the surge, Wingate scored 3 more goals, bringing the half to a close with a score of 7-4. Coming out of the half, both teams came out firing. Newberry struck first with a goal from Gage Vigar, which was then followed by a score from Wingate. Newberry then went on a 3-goal run, which saw scores from Scott Williams, Liam Vollins, and Aiden Snow. Wingate answered with 2 goals themselves, but Derek Chiazzo tacked on 1 more goal at the end of the quarter for the Wolves, bringing them within 1 point with a score of 9-10 going into the fourth. The fourth quarter saw gritty defensive performances from both teams. Newberry tied the game early in the quarter with a score from Scott Williams, and didn't see another score from either team until a score from Aiden Snow put the Wolves on top for the first time all game with 4 minutes left in the game. As the clock ticked down, Newberry played hard defense to prevent a score, but ultimately, Wingate tied the game, scoring with 1 minute left. Regulation ended with a score of 11-11, so they would settle the contest in overtime. An uneventful fifth period saw both teams holding strong defensively, in which neither teams allowed a score. This brought the game to double overtime with the score still tied 11-11. In the sixth and final period, once again both teams were playing sound defense and taking shots, but eventually Wingate would score the final goal with 2 minutes left, winning the game by a score of 12-11. With the loss, this concludes the men's season. The men finished the season with an overall record of 10-7 and a South Atlantic Conference record of 7-3. Tucker Moore, NCTV.
And so the women's team moves ahead to the semifinals after its 20-13 win over UVA-Wise, while the men fall short after a double overtime battle against Wingate. The women's team came back from an early deficit but pulled ahead in the first quarter and never looked back. Lana Howell had 6 goals and 2 assists, and Serena Elias had 4 goals and 1 assist. Emma Jobs had 2 goals in less than a minute. Tristan Burns also added 2 goals, and Mackenzie Dorr made 13 saves against 32 shots. The women's team is now 13-5 overall and moves ahead in the postseason. The men's team fought into double overtime, picking up momentum in the second quarter and having a strong third, bringing the match to a 10-10 tie at the start of the fourth quarter and ending regulation at 11-all. Ace Nichols led the team with 2 goals and 3 assists, while Gage Vigar and Aiden Snow had 2 goals each. Liam Vollins had a goal and an assist. Ben McMullen recorded 14 saves in net. But despite that effort and a strong overtime performance, it only took 1 Wingate goal to end the Wolves season at 10-7 overall and 7-3 in the conference. And, our lacrosse teams just had an incredible season. Kind of hard to believe that, as you just heard right there, the men's team finishing at 7-3 in the conference, and yet their season is over. That's how quickly it can go, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this show. Wolves Weekly will continue in a moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Paul C. Fisher. We have a very exciting interview today. Joining us in the studio is the Vice President for Community and Belonging here at Newberry College, Dr. Althea Richardson. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
It's good to hear. We're excited about this one. We've been wanting it for a while, we know. Finally made it happen, huh?
Long time in coming.
Exactly. Let's start with a little bit of your background, kind of your experience and what brought you to Newberry College.
Absolutely. So I came from Clemson University. I was there for 31 years. When I left, I was the Associate Vice President for Strategic Diversity Leadership. What I was doing there was leading Clemson University through a process where every college and every division led by a vice president was developing, implementing, assessing, and reporting out on strategic plans that they had developed about making sure the institution was more diverse, more welcoming, more inclusive, and I was leading the institution through that process. What led me to Newberry? First of all, let me say I wasn't looking to leave Clemson University. I have 2 daughters. One of them is in high school, and I wasn't planning to leave before she graduated. But when I saw the position description at Newberry, the words just leapt off the page. It was describing a position that I was either currently doing at Clemson or had done in the past, and I knew Newberry wasn't too far away. And I just really loved the bold way that they talked about the intention behind the work. So I just kind of had to apply for it. So I did, and the rest is history.
That's really exciting, and that's a cool journey.
Absolutely.
Been a few different places.
Yeah.
To you, what do you feel is the importance of diversity?
So first of all, let's talk about what diversity is, because that word has become very politicized in this moment. Diversity is just basically the ways in which we're all different, right? And it doesn't matter who I'm sitting here talking to, there's going to be diversity between the two of us, right? And so I think about us being a Lutheran institution, and I've learned a lot about being a Lutheran institution. I've read the document Rooted and Open, and every day I'm trying to learn a little bit more. But it speaks to us believing that we're all created in the image of God. And if we truly believe that, then everybody, every individual, every story is worthy of being valued, being heard, being seen. And so if we're living our Lutheran values as an institution, then we're really believing in the uniqueness of every individual and the importance of that to this Newberry community. And so now more so than ever is the importance of really leaning in and valuing the uniqueness of what everybody brings to the table.
I love that. I truly do. That's beautiful. And it's something that I think we just need more access to everywhere. With kind of the recent changes, things going on, you kind of hinted at this a little bit, with current events definitely, how has either your role or maybe your mindset and approach to your role changed?
Yeah, so first, talking about my role in making sure that everybody understands what that means. So my role, what I believe it to be here, is making sure that our programs, our policies, our practices reflect our values as a Lutheran institution, and making sure that everyone who studies here, who works here, feels valued, feels included, and like they belong as a member of the Newberry community, no matter who they are, what their background is, and their identity. I think that in terms of changes or anything in this current political environment that we're in is really reinforcing the importance of what we do, right? Making us even more committed to the work that we do. And I say us and I say we a lot because this is not just me doing this work. There's a team of people that work very closely with me and a lot of supporters on this campus. But what we've been trying to do is be strategic about it. In this current political environment, right? We're trying to lean into our Lutheran values as an institution because they're very rooted in justice and equity, and so is the work that we do. We're trying to make sure that our vulnerable populations in this moment feel valued and supported. We're trying to make sure that we are creating competencies for our students, faculty, and staff so they can lead with more compassion and more empathy and more understanding and not fear and misunderstanding. So just trying to be strategic about what we do, but really leaning into those Lutheran values because it's more important now than it ever has been before.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
I love what you have to say. I love the role that you play. And seriously, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time also, coming here, giving your perspective, and being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Wolves Weekly will be back in just a moment.
You're watching NCTV Newberry.
A few weeks ago on Wolves Weekly, we took a look at the start of the football team's spring drills at Setzler Field. The team's efforts over the last few weeks culminated in this year's scarlet and white game at noon this past Saturday. For this game, the Wolves coaches drafted players onto each team, and they played 4 quarters in a test of what they learned. It was a day for which the team had worked hard, and there was a lot of anticipation. Victor Hennian was not only there for the action, but talked to some of the players before the game and filed this report.
We're going to everybody touch the whoop, and then we're going to break it up on the field, red and white. Here we go, man.
On April 26, much was happening with Newberry campus sports. With the first football spring game planned and getting transfer students arranged, campus was rather busy. It all started in the cafeteria, with the football team eating breakfast and getting ready for the game they'd later be playing.
What is today supposed to be? It's the start of a...
Today is a spring game. We kind of changing it up this year, splitting the teams up white and red, and just getting a little competitive, different competitive spirit, you know.
So, how does this first game bring morale to you?
Kind of just makes it more competitive. You know, in the last spring games, it felt kind of like a scrimmage, except, you know, fans were allowed and we were wearing game jerseys. But this time we wanted to do something different. We wanted to bring that competitive nature, competitive fire to the team, which you really don't see during this time of year. You know, spring ball, you know, you're getting ready for the fall, but we're not really, you know, that, you know, seriously about it. So this kind of brings that competitive nature to the team and brings that fire. So that's why we changed it up.
We usually don't go like red on white, so it'll set the tone for the season. Like, you got everybody want to compete, everybody want to win, and I feel like it's just gonna have us ready for the season.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say like the past structure we had was bad, but I think this type of structure where we break it down, we had a draft, it kind of creates a little bit more competitiveness within a team, and you know, a lot of these guys around me and everybody, we're kind of split, and it makes it where it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more, you know, like I said, competitive, and it kind of gives them more of a reason to play a little bit harder, I'd say.
What things are you expecting from this? What are you hoping to achieve?
A lot of energy, a lot of toughness, a lot of physicality. You know, we're brothers, but you know, it's kind of cool to see wearing different sidelines this time. You know, wearing different color jerseys, so it's not going to be just offense versus defense. You know, each team has a quarterback, each team can score points. So I think that's what I'm really excited to see. You know, win, lose, or draw for my team. You know, I'm excited to go out there and have some fun.
I'd say, you know, we're coming back early this year in July instead of just coming back in August, and I think that's something that a lot of guys are excited for because we get to get here, and then we're going to be around the team a little bit longer, and we're going to get a lot of those kinks worked out that we usually have to work out in 3 weeks, and now we get about 6-7 weeks to do it. So hopefully it'll help us because, I mean, we always compete real well, even with just 3 weeks before, and a lot of teams in the SAC, they come back early already. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball in that sense. And so I think that's one thing I'm excited for, just to get back here with the guys and be able to work out the kinks and everybody get on the same page a little bit, or have longer to get on the same page. Yeah.
Have fun with it. Celebrate that we'll spot it back, we'll go back to work. Hey, let's go, a little fun.
With the Wolves hyped up, it was onwards to the Wolf statue for their pre-game tradition of touching the statue. With some brief team meetings and then meetings with the transfer students, it was time for the game to start. The game was to have the Newberry Wolves split evenly in 2. One side was Team White and the other Team Red, occasionally referred to as Team Scarlet throughout the day. After a moment's silence for the passing of Dr. Sharon's, the coin would be tossed, with Team White starting with the ball.
Team White will get the ball to begin today's contest.
The game would begin in a harsh struggle, as the Wolves' evenly balanced teams would fight hard against one another. Team White would have the opportunity in the first quarter to kick a goal, but would miss. With the even balance of the teams, neither Red nor White would score in the first quarter. Eventually, though, Team White would push through the defense, running a ball to the touch zone, scoring in the second quarter.
Pass is complete.
Later on, Team Red would even it out, obtaining a touchdown in the third quarter. And then, in the fourth quarter, 2 monumental passes would be dropped in the touch zone in the fourth quarter by Team Red, with it then going back to Team White. Red would make up the fumble, though, as they would intercept the ball back later on. But with only 18 seconds left on the clock, they wouldn't be able to take it all the way to the score, leaving the scores ultimately at 7-7, a perfect tie.
And welcome back. And right now we're here with, talking about football player DJ Curry, who's also an production assistant here with us, Wolves Weekly this semester. So DJ, welcome on board here. Now, you were out there. You were playing in the Scarlet and White game. How did the teams prepare? How did you find that? How did you know, you were drafted onto which team? And what did you play out there?
Well, I played H-back, and I didn't really know what team I got drafted on until, the day of, the day before. And then he was just like, we had to go in the locker room, and everybody, it was like a list of everybody's name. And then I was on a white team. And then I kind of figured, because at practice, he was splitting us up. And he wasn't really telling us, he was just splitting us up. And we really didn't know what team we was on. And we didn't even know we were splitting up into teams. We thought we were just splitting practice. And the whole time, he put me on a white team. It was a red team. We went out there and played. We practiced. We got 2 leaders. We got 2 gray stripes on the team that prepared us for it. We didn't really know that they was our leaders until we didn't know it until they drafted us. And then they were just preparing us and giving us speeches and lectures of what they expect from us, and just go out there and play our heart out and get to it.
That's awesome. You mentioned preparation, right? That's all what it all is, right, in these spring games. So glad you had a lot of fun and ended up in a tie. Maybe that's how it would be, right? Because the team's pretty good, each one against each other. It should end up in a tie, I guess so. Wolves Weekly will continue in a moment.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica, along with Jamari Waters this week. And now let's get to that scoreboard and get you caught up with all the action that took place over the past week. In baseball, the Wolves running out the string in the regular season with a 3-game series against 20th ranked Francis Marion. On Saturday, Newberry came up short 6-2 in the first game of the doubleheader, but then in Game 2, the Wolves jumped out to an early lead and held a 6-3 advantage going into the bottom of the 8th. But a 4-run rally by the Patriots doomed the Wolves, and they dropped a heartbreaker by the score of 7-6. And in the final game of the regular season on Sunday, a tight one with the Patriots coming out on top 2-1, scoring the winning run again in the bottom of the 8th to sweep the Wolves. The overall record for Newberry ends up at 25-25 for the season.
However, the Wolves were also waiting on the results of the Catawba Lincoln Memorial doubleheader on Sunday to find out if they made the cut as the number 8 seeded team for the SAC tournament. Newberry needed Catawba to sweep the Rail Splitters on Sunday after Indians took game 1 on Saturday. The Indians ended up winning the first game 3-2 in 12 innings, and then the nightcap dominated Lincoln Memorial 13-1 to get the sweep that Newberry needed. And Wolves with that. The Wolves ended up as the number 8 seed in the SAC tournament. They'll have their work cut out for them, as they will draw the first seeded Catawba Indians this Friday at 2 p.m.
And turning to men's lacrosse now, as you saw earlier in the program, the team hosting one of the quarterfinal matchups in the South Atlantic Conference tournament at Sessler Field on Saturday. Their opponent was the 5th-seeded Wingate Bulldogs, and it was as close a game as you would have wanted, with the two teams tied at 11 apiece at the end of regulation. Into overtime they went until Wingate scored the game winner in sudden death in the second overtime period, and they take the game 12-11. With that, the Bulldogs move on to the semifinals, and Newberry's season comes to a quick end, with the overall record ending up at 10-7 and 7-3 in the conference.
On the women's side, the season will last a little bit longer, as the Wolves also hosted their quarterfinal match at Settlers Field as well against UVA Wise. Newberry holding the number 3 seed in the conference tournament. The Wolves trailed at the beginning but quickly caught fire and led 9-7 at the half and continued the onslaught in the second half, scoring 11 more goals compared to UVA's 6, ultimately taking the win 20-13. The Wolves advanced to the semifinals on Wednesday, where they will take on the second-seeded Limestone Saints in Gaffney. If they get the win, the conference final will be held in Matthews, North Carolina on Saturday.
And as always, don't forget that you can find the latest on the postseason action, not to mention everything else going on in Newberry College athletics at newberrywolves.com. You can find all the latest headlines, see the latest statistics, learn how the teams are getting ready for next year, see the latest schedules, and get ready for next season's games by getting your official Wolves merchandise. All this and more is available anytime you want it and anywhere you are at newberrywolves.com. All right, so Jamar, we just had those. Your end of season. Baseball still gets to live a little bit. Women's lacrosse gets another shot. And we mentioned it early on, and kind of you said there too, how quickly it can all come to an end. Sports is all about those highs, right? Those tremendous highs when you succeed. But a lot of it, and I think even more of it, are those lows, unfortunately. When you lose, only one team gets to hoist the trophy at the very end. And so they have to deal with that just like that. One team, boom, one and done, and your whole season is over. And we were talking a little bit before, as a senior, for example, your whole career is over. It's incredible.
Most of them, this may be their last time playing sports in college. They might don't go to sports after they graduate. This might be their last time, and I can feel some of them might be a heartbreaker because this might be something they really love to do.
Yeah, and that's why, we always stress, now, of course, I'm mostly on the academic side of things, and that's why they're student athletes, right? Student usually comes first in that, to prepare themselves for the rest of their lives. Whatever that may be, it might involve sports, absolutely, but it might involve other things that they get into, and, we wish all the best, especially those seniors, by the way, who are ending their seasons and may not play professional sports ever again. So congratulations to them and good luck to them. That's all for this edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Al Della Chica.
And I'm Jamari Waters. Join us next time for more Wolves Weekly.
Getting you all of the excitement of the game, even if you're not there. It's Wolves Weekly, available on Flow Sports and produced by NCTV Newberry.